Hello again, welcome to Suburban Appalachia channel, and today we're going to be making what I call the world's best steak and gravy. It's very easy to do. This recipe is dedicated to my dad, which was from the foothills of South Carolina. We're in the foothill or the mountains, Blue Ridge Mountains of southwestern Virginia, but this is one of my dad's favorite meals. God rest his soul, and it's in memory of him. It's a way to take cheap cuts of beef and make some of the most extraordinary steak and gravy that you've ever tasted. It's very simple. We're going to be doing our cooking today in an electric skillet because it's going to cook for approximately 2.5 hours. But I want to show you some of the little tips that I have for it. And what I have here is about 2.5 pounds of cubed steak, and you can do this with ground steak, chuck steak. I like cubed because it holds flour a lot better. And the first thing we're going to do is salt it. A lot of people are dissatisfied when they cook beef because of the flavor, and most of the time it's because it wasn't salted enough. Beef needs salt, and anymore today we're told not to eat sodium and salt, and it's bad for you. But I'm going to tell you, if you crave salt, you need salt. The biggest thing that's wrong with our blood pressure today is stress. Stress is a big factor, and I hope these videos allow you to relax a little bit and take you back to a different time. But this steak I've cut it up in smaller pieces to make more gravy, and you'll see how that works. I could have left the pieces whole, but I like smaller pieces, and it makes more surface area to make gravy. And this makes its own gravy. It's a very rustic gravy, but it's the richest beef gravy, steak and gravy you've ever had. And I call it the world's best steak and gravy. My dad made steak and gravy at least once a week when I was growing up. But what we have, I got my skillet on about 350 degrees. And the first thing we want to do after we salt this beef is roll it in flour. And I have in here about 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And if you don't have all-purpose flour, you can use regular flour, like self-rising. But what we're going to do, we're going to take these steaks and just put dry flour on them, and it'll stick. And I'm going to put them in the frying pan. And the biggest problem with people unsatisfied with the way their beef tastes, or steaks that you cook on the grill, stew beef, any kind of beef roast, they're dissatisfied sometimes with the flavors because they didn't salt it. And you saw how much salt I used, coarse sea salt. You say, wow, he uses a lot of salt, but this beef needs it. And when it gets done, it'll be absolutely delicious. But the first thing you want to do is get all this steak frying. And I have in my pan about a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. It's a big pan, and you can do this on your stove top. You don't have to use a skillet, but I like to use a skillet because I can control my temperature when we get to the slow cooker part. Some people use crock pots for this. But I've found over the years that this is one of the best ways to make delicious steak and gravy. You can salt it with garlic salt if you like, but I like the taste of the beef by itself. And I think you'll love this recipe. And another reason sometimes the steak don't turn out good or it's tough, it's because you didn't brown it. And actually, to make that rich brown gravy, I'm going to burn this steak. When you think it's ready, cook it some more. And that's what makes the richness of the brown gravy. And we'll just keep going through this. I've got a few pieces too many, but I'll get them in there one way or the other. If you want to put plenty of flour on your steak, that's what's going to make the gravy, because when we get this going, The flour that we've dusted this with will be what turns into the gravy, and you'll see. Got one more piece. But I want you to pay particular attention to the level that we cook this steak, that we brown this steak before we start making our gravy. That's the key. We've got all that in the pan, and we're going to brown this first side. I always like to, at this point, is add the pepper. It'll stick to that flour. I use this black pepper. And be generous with it. This gravy and steak, beef likes salt and pepper. So we'll keep cooking on this, and I'll come back when we're ready to turn it over. But I want you to see the most critical part is you've got to brown it. It's got to be brown, or even I'm going to burn mine a little bit because it makes the gravy so much richer. Okay, we're back. I wanted you to see an up close of this. We still was frying on one side. This is what you're looking for. You want some brown on there, some dark brown. So we know that side's ready to turn over, and we'll go ahead and do these other sides. But this is most important. You see that brown, almost black in places. That's what makes your gravy rich. And I wanted to do an up close shot of this so you can see what you're looking for. And when we turn this side over, see, look at there, it's beautiful. That's what you want. You want it seared with the flour, the extra cooking by scorching it a little bit. It makes the gravy so much richer, and it will not taste burnt, I promise you. And we'll go through here and turn everything over. And we want the other side brown just like the first side. And on this side, we didn't put any pepper. So now is a good time. You're not going to hurt beef with pepper. This is black pepper. We've already salted it. Be generous with it. Oh, it smells so good. But we'll keep cooking this. The next time we come back on, I'll show you how you make your gravy. Okay, we got our second side brown. This is very, very important. I want your second side to even be as browner than your first side. And all of it's brown, it smells so good. And I know probably what some of you are thinking, well, he's burnt this steak. That burnt caramelization of the flour will make such a rich gravy, and this gravy makes itself. What we're going to do now is we're going to cover this with water, and we're going to turn the skillet down to about 200 degrees right at boiling, and we're going to cook this continually for 2 hours on a simmer. And when we come back, along the 2-hour process, I'll stop and stir the steak around a little bit and check and see if it needs water. Sometimes you need to add, but you need to cook this for at least 2 hours. And I'll show you how to tell when it's done. But then you take water. I hope you can see that. And cover the steak. And that's a lot of water, but it's a lot of steak. And we're going to turn the skillet down once it gets back to boiling to 200 degrees, or thereabouts, 200, 212, and it'll simmer. We don't want to cook this real harshly right now. We did to get it brown, but now we're slow cooking it with this water added. And every once in a while, maybe every 20 or 30 minutes, I'll come back and stir the steak around, and the flour that was on the steak that we fried it in is what's going to make that rich, delicious brown gravy. And when we get done, we'll serve this up with some homemade mashed potatoes, and we've got some Cherokee yellow wax beans out of the garden, and I'll show you what it looks like. But along the process, we'll come back and I'll have the filming of stirring it up a little bit. But when this gets to boiling, I will take this lid here and put on it, and that'll hold some of the moisture from evaporating. But this water will cook down, and we may have to add water a little bit later, but that's okay. We've got it fried, both sides, added water, gonna get it boiling, and then we're gonna turn it down to like 200 degrees, and we'll be back in just a little while, and I'll show you what it looks like. We're gonna cook it 2 hours. Hello, we're back, and as you can see, this has been cooking now for about 30 minutes, and I just stopped by to check on it, and I was just gonna stir it around. As you can see, if you can see through the steam, the gravy's already started, and this likes about another hour and a half, but probably every 20 to 30 minutes I'll check on it. And as you can see around on the side, I've got it sitting on about 200 degrees. And it already smells so good. But I'll scoot this around, and as this cooks, the gravy will continue to thicken, and we may have to add some more water as it cooks off, but it's going to be some beautiful, and that's why I call it the world's best steak and gravy, and you'll love it. We'll be back shortly and see how this is progressing. Okay, we're back. This is cooked for about an hour and a half, and as you can see, the gravy is looking rich. And what you want to do is keep stirring it and breaking up. I don't know if you can see it, that flour is on the bottom. I think I will add a few cups of water to the mixture and let it cook for the next half an hour, and we should be getting there pretty soon, and we'll be ready to serve this up. I don't know if you can see how thick the gravy's getting. It smells so good, and we've done nothing to this but just cook it very slowly. And as you can see, look right under this steak, it's trying to stick, and that's what you want. So we'll just keep stirring it, and we're going to let it cook. And like I say, I may add a couple of cups of water and let it reduce some more again. It just concentrates the flavor. But I wanted to show you what it looks like. Then when it gets done, I'll show you what it looks like, how you can tell when it's done. It's still got a ways to go, but it's coming along very nicely. Okay, our steak gravy's been cooking now for about 2 hours. It's beautiful, it's tender, and I want to show you how you can tell if it's done. Some of you, depending on what steak you use, may need a little more time, but take your spoon or whatever you have, utensil, and mash down on your steak, and you see it cleaved it in two, very tender. This is so tender, and it made its own gravy. We didn't have to work at it. It's very beautiful gravy, and it smells so good. And we're going to plate this up with, like we said, with some homemade mashed potatoes out of the garden, and some green beans, and I'll show you what it looks like on the plate. But it's absolutely gorgeous, and I hope you'll try it. But it makes gravy, and it's beautiful gravy. It's delicious, and I guarantee you, if your family tries this, they'll want you to make this for them every week. Very good. But we'll be back when we get it on the plate. Here we have it. The world's best steak and gravy. I made some mashed potatoes, and here's some of the Cherokee wax green beans, some tomato slices. Let's see how it tastes. And my dad, every time we fix this dish, I think of him. This was his favorite Sunday evening dinner or supper, we call it. Let's see how it is. So tender, you can cut it with a fork. I hope you'll try this recipe. It's absolutely delicious. Your family will love it. Thank you for joining me for this video. If you like our channel, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. But I hope you'll try this steak and gravy recipe. It's absolutely delicious. It's a country way of eating. It goes good with biscuits we made. You've seen the video on the biscuits. This is just a super way to make steak and gravy. You can't beat it. But thank you for joining us. Hope to see you again real soon. God bless you, and I want to thank God for all his blessings. He's been very good to us. But y'all have a good rest of your day and join us again next time. Thank you.